right. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me for Realtors Who Rock. I'm here with my friend Stacey Brown with Keller Williams. How's Stacey doing today?
Stacy is well. Stacy is good.
All right.
It's
Spring
busy.
break.
Spring break is here.
Yeah.
And, I'm loving it so far.
You guys haven't do anything fun yet, or got any fun plans?
I have a couple of plans. I won't speak them because then I'll never hear the end of it
Oh,
since
yeah, yeah, yeah.
around.
Listening
But
ears. Yeah.
exactly.
It's best as a surprise. Everything should be a
hmm
surprise. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. How old are
That
your
is,
girls now?
they're 10 and 7.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So that is exactly right. You cannot give them any information because it's
No, I'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah, we're the same way. The only thing they know is my mom's coming into town in a couple days, so they're excited to see the meme. That's what we call my mom.
Mm.
So she'll be here for a couple nights, and but yeah, we'll do other fun stuff while she's here, but we cannot make we dare not speak of it. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm telling you.
yeah. So start us off with a little bit about you. What did you do before real estate? How'd you get into real estate?
Um, so. Before real estate, I did a lot of different things. I worked for briefly for Crown Hill Cemetery, selling those plots. So I did that for a little bit, and I did
Different
work
form
for
of real estate. Yeah.
yeah. That's way harder, way harder. It's very hard to approach people with selling plots. So
Hmm.
that was different. So I did that. I worked for a couple of small entrepreneur companies and then I ended up getting my CDLs and was driving for Indigo for a while. And then I drove for Washington Township and the IPS school systems. And during that time was when I pretty much got introduced to real estate. First, it was through, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are familiar with it now, but back then it was kind of like, I mean, it wasn't new, but it was new to a lot of people that I knew, wholesaling real estate. So I tried
Hmm.
that for a little bit before I got my license, and I didn't really like that aspect. I like to know what I'm doing, and I like to, understand fully what I'm doing for people. And if I'm going to be in a service-based industry, I want to make sure I'm actually servicing them. And,
Hmm.
so that's when I ended up researching getting my real estate license and went took the test and interviewed with a couple of um, real estate companies. And then I had started my journey at Carpenter Realtors.
Right. Right. And
Mm,
then now you're with Keller Williams. You've been with Keller
yeah,
Williams how long?
2 years now.
Okay. And that's a
Mm,
great office. I love that office over the north
yeah,
side of Indy
it's awesome. I
with
love that office.
Michelle and the whole vibe up there. It's great.
Yeah, yeah.
Good deal. And then we mentioned the girls 10 and 7. So
Mhm.
what are their names?
Elea and Emila.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, great names, and then yeah, both in school, so spring break and all that stuff, and a one woman army. And you're not just a realtor; you wear a couple other hats too. Can you tell us about some of the other gigs that?
I do. So I also run a face painting business. I've been doing that for about 7 years, I think. I've been an artist my entire life. That was actually how I used to communicate before I started actually really talking. So, that was one way I communicated when I was very young. And then I just ended up turning it into a whole lot of different things. And now it's mainly, face painting and servicing kids' birthday parties and anything kid related.
Mhm.
So that, and I started this modeling avenue. So we'll see how that goes. But for the most part, the main thing is real estate, and the other things kind of fall on the wayside as more as like a passion projects or things that I like to do in my spare time.
Sure, sure. Well, you've always liked to keep busy. Yeah, as long as I know
Yeah,
you were doing face painting when you first became a realtor, but even then, I felt like you were wearing several different hats. So,
a lot.
but that's one of the benefits of the industry, right? I mean, real estate gives us some flexibility when it comes to
Yeah.
being able to work the hours that we want to work and do the mom
hmm
things we need to do the mom things and spring
Yeah.
break things and secret spring break plans. We can do all that.
I
We can
know.
facilitate all that. Yeah. Okay, so then 2 years at Keller Williams, but how so has it been 4 years in real estate?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
been 4 full years. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And what has been your favorite transaction so far?
Oh man. I actually have a lot of them. So it's kind of difficult to say which one's my favorite because a lot of my clients have I'm still in touch with, and I've created some actual real bonds with them. So, they call me all the time, or I'm hearing from them every now and then. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, I don't really know.
Well, and
I'm trying.
social media is a great way to stay in touch with our clients too.
Yeah,
LinkedIn. So it's like even if we're
yeah,
not in each other's pockets, I joke with my clients when we get under contract, it's gonna be hot and heavy during the purchase
yeah,
process. We're gonna talk a lot. And then we're gonna close,
yeah,
it's gonna be like, what the heck? How's Eric doing? I haven't talked to him in
yeah,
weeks, and it's like
exactly.
half the reason I get on Facebook and LinkedIn is see how my clients are
Yeah,
doing after the fact. So
yeah, yeah. Oh man, that is a good question. I guess, I don't even know. I would really have to think about that because I have a lot of good ones. Um,
lots of favorites. That's yeah, well, you're a positive person. That
yeah.
doesn't surprise me you can't narrow it down. What about the other way? What about least favorite transaction? Do you have one
Um,
of those? We'll leave the we'll protect that we'll exclude the names to protect the
yeah, we'll exclude
innocent.
the names. I think because there's probably like one or two clients that I had represented, and I wouldn't want to represent them again.
Mm,
So one of them was a listing that I had, and every which way I tried to help them, it was like it was shot down. I got it under contract at least 4 or 5 times, and they just found a way to they just, it was very difficult. And I had
mhm.
that contract for well over a year. And a lot of people kept telling me, hey, let it go, let it go. And I'm just like, I want to, but I've already put this much time into it. So it's kind of
Right.
one of those things where it's like, I don't like to quit. So I was like, I put a lot of time, a lot of hours into this. I've, gotten a lot of investments into this. I just kept working with them. And eventually we did get it closed after, we got it more available to show people. And with that being said, I got it closed, and they did say thank you and stuff like that. So it was still amicable at the end, but it was
Hmm.
very difficult.
Hmm.
They were one of my hardest clients to work with. So I was
Would
like,
you
yeah.
say it seemed like a lot of the difficulty was because maybe they weren't taking your advice or listening to your opinions? Was there a lot of emotionality involved for them was as far as selling their home?
No, it
Oh.
it was an investment property, which was crazy to me. So it was one of those things where I'm sitting here telling them where they should put the listing at. They didn't listen to me then. And then when I tried to advise them on the offers and how we should navigate it, they didn't want to listen to that. They had a certain dollar amount they wanted to get, which is fine.
Hmm.
You can definitely do that, but just me telling them this is going to sit for a while then. And if there's tenants involved, it's going to sit a little longer because there's tenants involved, and a lot of people don't want to go in and out and stuff like that. So it was just a whole thing. And then once the tenants finally left, they kind of didn't want it. So it was just like a whole thing. They
Hmm.
weren't really listening to me. And in the real estate process, you really want to listen to your realtor, take their advice. I mean, whether you do it or not, you really should hear them out because, I mean, clearly we've been doing this for a long time. I could see if I was new, but I've been doing this for, full 3 or 4 years at that point. So
Right.
I think I know what I'm doing. I'm sold enough to where I know what I'm doing.
Sure. Well, even if you don't do it a long time, you're doing it much more frequently than, I mean, how often is an individual buying or selling a home?
Right,
Maybe once
right,
every 5 or 6 or 7 years, depending on the
right.
nature of it. So yeah, it's not something, I mean, the reason you have a professional involved is you would think you'd want to take some advice. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, that's funny. That's funny that it's investment property, even if it was like their first investment property, but then tenants involved, and you can see kind of where that's like, okay, you have asked your tenant to get me out of that apartment for this amount of time, and there could be
Hmm.
layers of nuance to that. But sorry to hear that anyway. So
No, it's okay. We still ended on a good note. It's just,
yeah. And you hung in there, which is like, at some point, some folks would get to a point where like, okay, what's the phrase? It's like if when the pain from changing becomes greater than or less than the pain from staying the same, that's when people change. It's like,
right,
so
right.
sometimes I've definitely gone down the road with clients where you get to a point where it's like, you know what, this isn't going to be pleasant anymore for anybody. And why put yourself through that? And then there's
Exactly.
other times where it's like, no, I have put a lot of work into this and I will do what I need to do to get this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hmm.
So with all of the plates that you're spinning in the air and all the hats that you wear, are there some habits or routines that you have that you believe have set you up for success? Have there been any particular routines or habits that you rely on?
Um, Being a mom, time blocking. I have
Mm.
time block. If I don't time block, oh my gosh. I remember my first year. Oh my gosh. I was all over the place. I did not know what the heck was going on, but I still closed, you know, transactions that year, which I was very thankful for. Um, but I needed to get organized. So, once I understood that, hey, I'm not going to make it if I don't get organized, that's when I started researching what I needed to do. So, started attending all types of, educational forums and stuff like that. That was another thing, just
Mm.
getting, more experience under my belt and going to different classes, networking with other realtors, other people, and just really, um, asking for guidance on it because otherwise it would not have happened.
Right.
Um,
Your
so
office is great about that. I know that Keller Williams in
yeah,
particular is renowned for having resources available for their agents,
yeah,
trainings in the office, and they encourage people to come into the office and for the more established agents to pour into the younger ones. And
mhm.
yeah, I love the abundance mentality that's up there.
Yeah,
Really good.
yeah. So that piece, so education and time blocking was one of the main two things that's helped me, along with learning to leverage now that I'm starting to have a lot more, being able to, get a transaction coordinator, work towards getting a assistant, to help me with everything in the back end and just different things like that understanding that is needed, especially when you start doing, high volume, you're working with multiple clients at a time. So that for the most part is very important for me. And Getting your systems in place. That's another thing. Um, Getting organized quick. If you're new to the business, do it now. Do it while you have time. Don't be like me and wait until you're closing so many deals and you're working with so many people and you're like, oh my gosh, I should have did this my first year. Now I'm like trying to get everything squared away, which is now happening. But when I first started getting, rampant clients, it was running around like a chicken with his head cut off. It was a lot.
Sure, sure. You mentioned
Mhm.
systems earlier. Is there one particular system that you think of that's like helping you feel like you're getting the organization pieces in place?
So my CRM helps. It
Hmm.
keeps me on track. It also helps with smart plans and stuff like that. I'm constantly trying to update the smart plans to bring more value to my clients, past clients, new clients. So making sure that I stay in front of them and definitely a separate number also helps because one, you can track who's calling you from where, and
Mm,
two, kind of separate personal and business a little
right.
more. So that's helped out a whole lot.
Hmm.
Um, and templates, a lot of templates, email templates, text templates, stuff like that, to where I don't have to think about it. I just plug and play and just keep it going because my first year trying to figure all that out. It's terrible,
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
So,
I'm a big fan of templates. Big fan of
yeah,
templates. Yeah,
yeah.
email and text both. Yeah, I do enough texting with
Hmm.
clients now where it's like this. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. And talk to text is fine. It gets better
Yeah.
every year, but you don't want someone getting some really inappropriate word bopped in there for talk to text. It's gonna make you seem like
Right.
some kind of a deviant. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And then organization that helps a lot with said time blocking, kind of the same thing.
Mhm.
We had Tiffany Taylor on the show a while back, and she's in the same office, and she was talking about one of her coaches had told her to schedule time. What was the phrase she used? Um, Swimming in the crazy, swimming in the
Mm.
so she's because everything can seem like an emergency in real
Yeah.
estate, and things will always come up every day that you weren't necessarily were prepared to. You don't have like a specific time to do it, but blocking time to specifically deal with those things and being able to tell
Yeah.
someone, you know what, I'll be getting back with you within an hour and a half because you know in a half hour you already have a time block scheduled to deal with stuff that came up during your day. And I just really like that was really impressed on me. It was like you can because a lot of the things that pop up that feel like emergencies after 30 or 45 minutes they're not as much of an emergency as they thought.
Yeah.
It feels like an emergency to the people involved because it's such an emotional process. Always feels like an emergency to the buyer or the seller, but the people who are in the industry know, hey, this might not be something that's going to get fixed today anyway. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. I
good
like,
for you.
thank you. Thanks.
Uh, so far, what have you been most proud of in your real estate career?
Um, my consistency. The fact that I have not stopped doing this, even when it got very hard,
Hmm.
um, very challenging, at a couple of points in this career of mine. And I just kept going. I didn't stop. Even when it seemed like, oh my gosh, I really should, jump ship. I didn't stop. So that's one thing I'm very proud of.
Yeah, you should be proud of that. That's really good. I mean, so many folks came in 2020 and 2021 thinking they were just going to make an easy buck, and then as soon as things turned, they just jump right back out again. I mean, there's
Yeah.
definitely less lenders and less realtors out there because folks haven't hung in there, and they're
Yeah.
it's probably for the best because if they were just
Right.
in here
Right.
to make a quick buck, they probably want to make a career out of it. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So you've been there almost for full 4 years. What would you say some of your primary sources? What would you say your primary sources of business or clients? Where are your primary sources from?
Um, my sphere. So friends and family, even if they haven't used me, they do make a note to reach out to me about somebody who needs help, somebody who needs some assistance. They do refer people to me, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah.
Not share everybody who, thinks of me first. Thank you. And then social media is another biggie. That is where I get most of probably everybody next to my spear.
Yeah.
Um, I utilize social media a whole lot. I'm always revamping and trying to figure out, better creative more ways to reach out to people. I feel it's more important to be educational, and bring value that way than I'm not a salesperson, in my opinion. I'm more of an advisor and a consultant.
Hmm.
And, I like to bring solutions. Um, so those are the two main things that I do. And then of course, networking events and stuff like that, or little vendor events and open houses is kind of like subservient.
Sure, sure. Have you ever had clients come to you through your face painting business?
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Actually, I remember my second listing I ever got was I was face painting at her daughter's fifth or sixth birthday party, and she was talking about, certain things, and she seen my sign because I always used to put it up. Uh,
Hmm.
and she was like, "Oh, you're a realtor?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "I'm thinking about selling this house." I said, "What?" So, we talked about it and then we ended up getting it under contract and stuff like that. So, yeah, all the time, especially when I go to these really big events, where I'm talking to at least 100 people, because
Hmm.
sometimes it's more than that. And I'm just talking to people that see my sign, they're talking to me. I'm face painting their kid's face. We're talking and, and they're asking me questions and stuff. And then the next person behind them hears, and then it's just like a tumbleweed effect. It's just always talking.
Yeah,
So it's at this point, it's more of like a real estate meeting because everybody's asking me stuff while I'm
right.
painting the kid's face.
Right. Oh, that's
Mm,
funny. That's awesome.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I was about to ask, how do you market your business? We've kind of already jumped the shark. You already talked about social media, which I know you
mm,
are outstanding at. I love seeing social media activity. And you really do. You do mix it up and you do different things. It's not, it's easy to get into a rut with those
mm,
things. And I have to challenge myself a lot on that because I just so desperately want it to be set it and forget it and
yeah, yeah,
but uh,
yeah,
but the algorithms are out there, and it's not just about what you put out; it's about who you interact with and how you're interacting and what you're sharing and what you're commenting. And there's numbers associated with all those things. So, um,
mm,
Is that so social media is probably you'd say your biggest way that you market?
Yeah, that's the biggest way that I market. It's the easiest way, for me at least. I
Hmm.
wish I could set it and forget it. I want to so bad. I remember when I used to, before I was a realtor, I was barely on social media. I mean,
Hmm.
I was on there, but I I could care less. I was barely on my phone. And now it's at this point where I'm always on there. So yeah, social media is the biggest thing. The online ads, trying to stay on top of the algorithm. I'll look at my insights and um see what's going on. And there's times where I'm hitting almost 70,000 people, and there's times where I'm hitting like 20. So just trying to stay up there and
Hmm.
I'm really trying to make it to 1 million. That's what I'm trying to make it to. But for now, 70K is fine. See, it's fine.
You gotta have
It'll,
goals. You gotta have goals.
yeah.
That's awesome. Um, so you mentioned earlier about getting organized. That is good advice for a new realtor joining this industry. What's the most important piece of advice you would give them? If someone was deciding to join today.
Um, they really need to go through some type of educational piece, to understand what they're going to be doing. Understand the contracts. That is the biggest thing. You'll probably be better than half of the realtors, even the older realtors, if you just read the contracts. Read the contracts, understand what they are, because your clients are looking to you to understand these contracts and explain these contracts. No, you're not a lawyer or an attorney, but you need to know them. You need to
Yeah,
know them front and back.
yeah.
I don't know the line items, but I do know the contract to be like, hey, I remember, in this section X, Y, and Z, this is where it says this is and this. Like that is important. Learn those contracts. If you don't do nothing else, learn the
Learn the
contracts.
contracts.
Contracts are the biggest part of your job, is learning that. Everything else will come in line. But if you know the contracts and people know and trust you in that area,
Yeah,
everything else, it's not really going to matter because they know you got their back.
yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the education piece a few times already too, and that is super important. And I think you said earlier you don't consider yourself a salesperson, but you're finding people solutions. And I
Yeah.
think that is, a lot of that I would call that almost it's a similar mindset of service-based sales. I mean,
Yeah.
we are lucky to be in an industry where if we want to make money, we have to help people. And if we want to make a lot of money, we have to help a lot of
A
people.
lot of people.
And the
Yeah.
way you help people is by establishing that trust and being a professional that has education, educating the buyers, educating the sellers. I mean, that's most of the reason why they're coming to you in the first place. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we talk about those people who jumped in when all the fish were biting in 20 and 21, and people thought, oh, I can just turn keys and collect checks.
No.
That's not going to get it the long term. That's not going to
No.
do what you want to the long term. Yeah.
Mm-mm. My job is to protect my clients. Sometimes I feel like I'm their mama bear. I just, I want them to understand what they're getting themselves into before they're signing on dotted lines. A lot of times, I set consultations first. We go through it, and that we see if this is for them. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to jump into this market, or they're not ready, or
Right.
all kinds of different things. I'm not here to pressure you into any situation. I'm here to let you know what you can and cannot do, and you make the decision for yourself. I'm not your mom. Yeah, I'm a mama bear, but I'm not your mom. You're an adult. You're supposed to be able to make these decisions on your own. I'm here to advise you, no different than an attorney or a doctor is advising you about whatever you're going to them for. It's the same exact thing. That's what I'm here to do. I'm not going to tell you, oh, you should do this. No, here's the solutions. Here's what you should. Here's, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. And what do you want to do? There's always a solution. I'm not here to force you to do anything. That's why I'm like, I'm not a salesperson. I'm here to actually help you figure out what's best for your life, your
Yeah.
family, your situation. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just one of the tools in your toolbox. I'm here to help.
Love that. Spoken
Yeah.
like a true mom,
Yeah.
a mom and a mama bear realtor. Well, it is. I mean, because you're educating and you're empowering your clients without maybe forcing them to do, you lay out the options and tell them this is what I think will happen if you pick this or that. And then the
Mm-hmm.
other side, dealing with maybe other agents or sellers or other parties, you sometimes do need to be a little more fierce, a little
Yeah.
more clipped, a little more direct
Mm,
because you're not representing those people in that transaction.
exactly.
So it's that
Exactly.
line of, you have a fiduciary responsibility to the clients who are using you. And that
Right.
doesn't mean you boss them around, but it doesn't mean
No.
that you lay over and let everyone else get what they want too. So
Right.
it's a fine
Right.
line. So
Hmm.
that's very good. That's a very astute.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, you always seen. I've said this from the beginning. We met at a My Board Next Gen event, I think,
Hmm.
originally.
Yep. Yep. It was.
Uh, and I'm always struck by realtors who seem to have been doing real estate for a long time, even when they're brand new. And it's like there's something about it that just there's personality types that take to it like a fish to water. That's just like that's you can tell it was just it fits. It's fitting their already the framework of who they were already. They were just waiting for the real estate thing to come online.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've always thought that about you.
Well, thanks.
So for people in real estate, are there big opportunities that people should be taking advantage of today that you see that people aren't taking advantage of? You see if there's any like donut holes out there that people should be working?
Um, if they're not taking advantage of social media, then they're dropping the ball already. They're dropping the ball like you should be. That is probably one of the main sources they go to review who you are.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go look. They're going
Mm-hmm.
to go look. They're going to look at Google too, but
Yeah.
they're going to go look at your social media. They want to know what type of person you are.
Yeah.
So, be mindful of that. Understand that people are watching, whether you like it or not. So that's
Yeah.
the main thing. Like if
Yeah.
you're not on air, I'm already 15 steps ahead of you. Like I'm on. I
Yeah,
try to always be on there.
that's right.
Um,
Yeah, you do a great job with that. Whether you like it or not, or whether you think they should or not, it's just the
yeah,
fact of the day. Is that
yeah.
I was just telling Michelle the other day. I've had two clients, two referrals this year already, who were a referral from a previous client, which is
Mm,
great. I always feel very blessed and complimented by that. But it used to be that was all you needed was a word of mouth
yeah,
referral. These folks said, "Well, so and so referred you," and then we looked you up online and saw this, that, and the other, and it was like, I don't know what happened if they'd looked online and didn't see anything, or if they had another
yeah,
girl from another friend and
yeah.
that person was online and I wasn't. It's like you don't
Right.
even know what's falling off the table at that point. Uh,
Exactly.
it was because again, the word of mouth referral was still the most important part. That took them to the
Mhm.
next step of Googling me or Facebooking me or whatever, and then
Yeah.
saw that I can't tell you how many stories I have had of that in just the last couple of years. It's becoming much more important, especially for folks who got into the industry when I was a few years ahead of you. I got into lending in 2017, but didn't really sink my teeth into social media until 2021 ish. And the payoff of that has been huge. Just staying connected to previous clients and staying top of mind um, and boosting that previous client referral. It's been good.
Yeah. 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 That's the main thing there.
And we gave advice to new realtors, but for you personally, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Mm, take breaks. Take breaks. Um,
Take breaks.
um, this industry can consume your entire life. There's a time where I just was literally just going and you'll eventually crash. So definitely take breaks. It's fun to do. I enjoy it. It's not for everybody. Working with other people's solutions and stuff like that, and being a part of their families, and learning about them, what they need, and everything like that. Like that's not for everybody. Sometimes it can be overwhelming.
Mhm.
Just take breaks and always be learning, and just don't put too much on yourself and just get 1% better every day. That's it. That's all you can do. Take breaks and get 1% better every day.
1% better every day. I like that. And taking
Mm.
breaks, yeah, that's not one word of a lie. You got to have time
Mhm.
for you. You can't let it consume you because
Yeah.
you absolutely can. It's kind of the other edge of the sword, right? We talked earlier how flexible we get to be and we can kind of
Yeah.
massage our schedule. We can, I saw all three of my boys take their first steps. I do not take
Yeah.
that for granted. That's a huge
Yeah.
blessing. A lot of
Yeah.
folks have jobs that would not allow them to do that. Uh,
Right.
And on the flip side, I've had angry client calls at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I work a lot of weekends. There's a lot of trade-off that goes with that.
Right.
And you're right. Yeah, you could because we make our own schedule. You could make your own schedule a living hell if you're not
Yes,
careful about.
yes,
But and it
yes,
goes back to you said time blocking. It's just as much important to block time for you and block time for
right.
personal development and block time for just rest and
Exactly.
R&R. Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
I've
great.
tried to I'm starting to implement like showing time hours and just showing like hours, just different stuff to help because I'm not missing anything with my kids. Like that's just I like you said, you've seen a lot. I'm there for all their field trips and just different stuff like that. So I try not to miss anything. So I really am honing down on what my hours are. And if you don't like that, then I don't know, but I care about being a part of my kids' life. So, and
Yeah,
most of my clients, they have kids, they understand. So it's one of those things where I'm grateful where I have the opportunity to represent clients that are like that.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. That's
Hmm.
awesome. So this might be a tough question, especially because you're such an optimistic person. But I also know you speak the truth and you don't deal out any BS. So it's a little bit of a vulnerable question. But what would you say a failure that you've experienced and what you learned from that failure? What's a failure you experienced in the real estate world that you learned from?
Listening to the wrong people will really cause you a lot of problems, a lot of grief.
Mm,
There's a couple times where I listened to a couple of like other realtors or allowed other realtors to steer me in the wrong direction. And I either dropped the ball on one of my clients. And I still feel bad about that to this day because I was listening to them and I should have been listening to myself. This was in my first year.
mm.
Um, and I didn't think I was doing anything wrong at the time, but now being more experienced, I should, it was just learning curves. I mean, I didn't know that I should have just not been listening to that person.
Right.
Um, I was still new. I was still kind of nervous about the
Yeah.
process and how everything goes.
You
And
said the
just,
first year. That's the usually
yeah,
when that stuff happens. You have a
yeah,
gut feeling, and you have someone who's more experienced,
right,
and you
right.
think, "Oh, I guess I got to do it this way." And yeah,
And not taking into consideration the way they ran their business and what I mean, I didn't know. So, and regardless of how long they've been in the industry, you know, if people are always saying something negative or saying something like they're condescending or just different stuff like that, I should have been taking that into consideration and I wasn't,
mm,
because they were in a higher spot than me. So I thought that they were right. And no.
gotcha. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, that and really just even on a personal standpoint and taking advice from other realtors because they think that you have to look a certain way or have a certain car or certain things like I'm me, I'm not materialistic. I've never been like that. I'm not super flashy. I might wear stuff or whatnot, but um I'm not super duper out there. So as
Well,
far
you
as
are a model, Stacey. So
well, yeah, well, I don't like to
no, no, no. You don't.
you
Yeah, I know what
know,
you're saying. You don't.
I'm
That's not
not
where the values are. Yeah.
yeah, that's not I don't care about that stuff. So there was a couple of times I made some bad investments because listening to other people and it put me
Mm,
in a hole.
mm,
So one of those things where I'm not going to listen to you again and I should never listen to you in the first place. And now I'm in this situation. You're not going to bail me out. So now I have to bail myself out and figure
right.
all this out because I chose to listen to you. So taking hits on that point. So not all advice is good advice and
Sure.
understanding that I needed to have better discernment at that time, which I mean, I was nervous about a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm starting a new adventure. I didn't have no backup plans. So it was just one of those things where I'm listening to everybody at this point. So now that I've been in it long enough, I'm super open to telling people about, my mishaps, mistakes, whatever I did. I tell any realtor that come and ask me about it. I'll tell you, I don't have
Right.
nothing. I've messed up a lot of stuff. So
That's right. No, you're a very honest
that's
person.
my
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thanks for sharing those things. I knew it'd be tough, but it would be. I know you're willing to be vulnerable and share those
yeah.
things. Is That's a big part of who you are. So, just one of the many reasons I love chatting with you, doing business with you. Absolutely, yeah. Like-minded folks and people who want to serve their clients as best of their ability and run their business the way they need to run their business to do that, and continue to
Yeah,
be educated and continue to give back. And I love that you've done your 4 years, and this is like the fifth year, fourth, fifth year can be kind of a magical one in the
yeah,
industry where you
yeah.
have some of the repeat business coming back, and you've got
Mhm.
some of that, a little bit. You don't have to lie to anybody anymore. Tell them you've been doing it for 5 years because you have been doing it for 5 years. Oh
Don't
my
have to fake
goodness,
it till you make it anymore.
that's
No,
right.
I've
Don't have to do
been
that.
doing this for a
Oh
long
my
time now,
word.
going on 5 years now.
That's right. That's right. So I know you said social media. Where are all the places we can find Stacey Brown and reach out to you, connect to you? We want to find you.
So definitely social media, of course.
Mhm.
Facebook is Stacey Brown. Instagram is at Stacey Sold It For Me or Stacey Sold It. I gotta look. I can't remember. It's
We'll put it in
always
the
one.
show notes. Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah. And then of course email is great. I'm always checking my emails unless I'm busy, but 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna check it within like 2 hours or so. So I'm going to check my emails. That's brown.stacy@kw.com. My website, www.prosperityestates.kw.com, or reach out to me. You can call,
Yeah.
text me.
When
That's
did you
probably
when did you get the domain name for Prosperity Estates?
so, I when you go with KW, they kind of create that for you. So I think that's awesome. I can always change it if I want to. I can do something different if I decided to change my business name because my business is
Oh,
Prosperity.
it was like a generated thing. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought that
Yeah.
was a newer thing. I thought, oh my gosh, she's like changing her Prosperity Estates. It sounds like you were going to the luxury market or something. I was
No, so I made that name and
Oh, all
they
right, all right.
what I wanted my domain name to be. And I said, yeah, well, this is going to be my company. Um
Oh, I see, I
so
see, I
yeah.
see. Okay, so
So they
they got
created.
it established and locked in the domain name for. Okay, but you
Yeah.
didn't pick it. I was like,
Yeah.
that is a really like alarmingly good match for Keller. If
Thanks.
Keller Williams generated that, they're like, how did they? What did you take a personality test or something? Because like,
Yeah, I made it up. Because at first I had a different name, and then I'm like, I really want to do something different, just rebranding and stuff. So yeah,
okay,
Prosperity is that's my business name.
love it, love it. Well, were there any questions you were begging me to ask you today that I didn't ask you?
No, no, I
No?
think you tackled a lot of them. Those are some really good questions you put together. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you. And
Mm.
thanks for joining me. And
Yeah.
thanks for joining us together at Realtors Who Rock. I have been Jay Money Mortgages, and this is Stacey Brown with Keller Williams. And we're going to sign off. Have a great day, everybody.